Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show. Don't touch that remote. I got a guest here today. I'm going to put him on the front burner. And I think he's got the answers for us that's going to be helpful for the community, for everybody. Somebody's saying this and somebody's saying that. But I'm going to ask him some questions, and I'm going to see maybe some of the things that might be good he want to put in action. Okay? So, my guest today is from the Upper Merion section. He weighs 100
really?
And representing Pennsylvania. He's a state senator, okay? And he's the kind of guy that he likes to talk, he likes to shake hands, he likes to smile. He's a friend like that, So I've known him for quite a few years. It's his second appearance here, and so I'm happy that he took over Connie Williams'
correct,
thing, who was very helpful. And she used to give me a lot of pass-outs things, so that's what I'm going to hit you with.
Okay.
So, Senator Leach, welcome to the Hank Cisco Show.
Well, thanks for having me,
All right,
Hank.
now, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to have some questions from the audience.
Okay.
Okay? You got an audience up there? And but the first question I'm going to ask you, and it's my question, okay? Why did you become a state senator? What do you feel is the most important piece of legislation you passed?
Well, thanks.
I know you're a hit and run. I give me the boxing gloves. You showing the boxing gloves, right? You're a fighter, right?
I try.
You never lost a fight in the dressing room, did you?
No, I have not.
No, you got to win in the ring, okay?
I became a state.
I know you're a fast talker, but I'm going to talk faster than you.
I'm getting that. No, I became a state senator in part because I have no other marketable skills. I was actually practiced law. I was a lawyer for a long time, and then
you're a lawyer.
I was by trade.
Okay.
I was a lawyer, and then in 2002, I was elected to the House.
But Connie Williams.
Yeah, she was a predecessor of mine. Still a great friend. Wonderful woman. And I was elected to the House in 2002, and I served for 6 years in the House. And then in 2008, I was elected to the Senate, and I've served now, I guess, for 10 years there. So 16 years total in the legislature. And, there's a lot of things I'm proud of that we've managed to get done. I'll tell you the one thing that I think is the most significant.
Go ahead.
For a couple of reasons. And that's the bill we passed. The governor signed it April 17th of 2016, and that was our medical marijuana bill.
All right, and that's I'm a little concerned about. Go ahead.
Let me tell you why I think it's such an important. In fact, I think it's probably the most important piece of social legislation we passed in the last.
It already passed.
Yeah, it's already the law. Dispensaries are opening up already around. There's one in Upper Merion. There's one on Lancaster Avenue. I've been to the ribbon cutting for, and this is happening. This will do several things. Number one, it's going to provide an amazing amount of relief to suffering for people. There are 17 conditions that you could get a doctor to recommend that you have access to this.
Yeah.
And so everything from cancer, because it's been amazing for cancer patients.
I had cancer 2 times, so I'm all right.
Yeah, and we can help you out if you ever need it, Hank. But it's kids with epilepsy and veterans of post-traumatic stress disorder and a whole bunch of other diseases that this really helps with.
You researched that?
Yeah, there's a ton of research. We had to do something very difficult, Hank. That's almost never happens. We had to change people's minds because when I first introduced it, I couldn't get a co-sponsor. But working on it for about 3 years, almost full time, we got it passed, and that's amazing. And so it's going to provide a lot of relief from suffering from illness. The other thing it's going to do, though, that I think is really important, it's creating an entire new industry in Pennsylvania that's going to be huge. Like I go to national marijuana conferences to encourage people to come to Pennsylvania and to learn about different parts of the industry. And I went to my first one like 6 or 7 years ago, and there was like 75 people there. I went to one in Las Vegas in late last year, and there were 18,000 people there.
Wow!
And there are all these businesses, hundreds and hundreds of different types of ancillary businesses, different ways to grow, different lights, different soil, different clipping mechanisms, tracking mechanisms, testing. All these new inventions are coming out of this. And in Pennsylvania, this is going to result not only in hundreds of millions of dollars of tax revenue, but it's going to result in thousands of jobs. I remember when the first grow house was in McKeesport was taking applications. One of the best things I saw was a picture of people applying for jobs there, lines around the block.
Jobs for what?
Working in the marijuana industry.
To
working,
make it?
To grow it, process it, and dispensary. So there'll be...
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I think you covered that like the do.
Okay.
Now, I'm a former police officer. I wind up with a guy a little goofy behind the wheel of the car. That could be marijuana. Maybe he had a couple beers with that. Or maybe he's medication and some of that medication. So that's what we have to be careful of. So I guess they have to be warned, if you're on the medication, if you're drinking, you don't do that. You don't mix gasoline and matches.
No, and it's illegal to drive under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, prescription medication. We don't want people who are impaired in any way driving a car. And so, you know, that all of that is...
What'd you say?
We
Say
don't
it
want.
again.
We do not want people who are impaired in any way to be driving a car.
Okay, that should be.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
so we're.
So there's no excuse for smoking and driving.
No, and keep in mind.
No drinking and driving.
No, I agree, and keep in mind.
Stop, drink, then drive. No.
No, or just stay home and drink.
No,
That's
no.
what I do most days. But no, keep in mind on the medical marijuana, some of it is smoked. It's actually called vaped now. That's what the kids do. They use a vapor pen. But a lot of it isn't, and a lot of it isn't even intoxicating, because there's different properties of the marijuana plant.
Oh yeah.
And there's
different strengths.
Well, there's strengths, but also there's different compounds. So, for example, there's something called THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. That is what gives you a high. That's what intoxicates you. And there are some conditions that you need to use that. However, there's also something called CBD, cannabidiol, which is another property of the cannabis plant, and it doesn't make you high or intoxicate you at all. And these, it's not only smoked, but there's pills. There's stuff like oil you stick under your tongue. There's topicals, the things you rub on your skin.
Right.
So there's all different varieties of
Water
this.
it down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it doesn't impair you at all.
Okay.
Now some does. Like, for example, post-traumatic stress disorder responds best with some THC. And some cancer patients, they can't take pills because they can't keep it down. So the smoke enables them to get instant relief and not have to worry about swallowing something when they have difficulty doing that.
Okay. You covered that.
Like do.
Now, politics.
Politics.
What's this all about changing the maps and boop and beep bop boop bop? What's all that about?
Well,
Now you're a Democrat, right?
I am. So anyway,
So
you're talking about...
who's mad?
Well, today the Republicans are mad, but I'll tell you, we're talking about gerrymandering. And what that means is,
What do you mean? Why they use it gerrymander? What's that mean?
I'll tell you where the term comes from. Well, let me just explain what it is real quick. The courts say that every district has to have the same number of people, one person, one vote, right?
Okay, yeah.
So,
right.
but population shifts, right? People move, people are born, die, whatever. So every 10 years we have to do a census and find out where people live and how many.
Okay, yeah, change.
And then we have to redraw the lines to make sure that every district has the same number of people. The problem is the politicians are the ones redrawing the lines. And so you can draw lines to make the district full of your voters and get rid of voters who are not friendly to you.
Yeah.
And so that makes it so our elections are uncompetitive. It's bad. And they call it gerrymandering because there was a governor of Massachusetts in 1812 who drew a district to protect a friend of his in Congress, and it looked like a salamander. Because his name was Elbridge Gerry, they called it a gerrymander. And that stuck. 200 years later, it's called gerrymandering.
How about that?
It's been around for a long time, but we've gotten a lot better at it because of computers and other things.
Yeah.
And so it's really gotten to the point where if we don't rein that in, we'll make it so our elections are meaningless.
Yeah.
And-
Well, that's in the Supreme Court now.
there are several cases. The state Supreme Court, Pennsylvania Supreme Court, struck down our congressional map, not the state legislative map, just the congressional map.
Okay.
And they drew new lines. Well, they gave it to the legislature to draw new lines, but we couldn't agree. So they drew new lines themselves, which I think are much better and fairer lines. The Republicans who are not happy because they drew the previous lines have appealed that to the federal courts, and there was a hearing a week ago, and so we're going to have to see what happens with that. Meanwhile, there's a United States Supreme Court case called Gill versus Whitford, where they're deciding on the constitutional standards for determining whether a district is gerrymandered. So I went down, because it's a big issue for me. I did a TED Talk on it. You can watch that on YouTube. But also, I've written about this. I've introduced legislation. So I'm very interested in the issue. So I went down to Washington, D.C. to watch the U.S. Supreme Court argument about this case.
Went before the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and so I got there, and to get in a important case at the Supreme Court, you got to get there really early. So I got there at 2 a.m.
Wow.
And there was already a line of sleeping bags wrapped all the way around the court of people camped out. I heard during the Obergefell case, which was the same-sex marriage case the U.S. Supreme Court decided, when they were hearing that, people started lining up 3 days ahead of that argument to get into the argument, because there's not that many seats in the court. So fortunately, due to a combination of getting there early and being physically aggressive, I got to the front row to watch the argument, and it was a terrific argument.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court by June.
Okay.
On what is and is not constitutional regarding gerrymandering.
Okay. Now, you covered that. Now, let's talk about Douglas High School in Florida.
Yeah.
Have you been together with any legislators or attorney generals or anybody to come up with something to make the students feel safe, parents safe? What do you think?
Well, this is a hugely important problem. I mean, you're familiar with, it's not just the Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, but there's Columbine. There's been dozens and dozens of these shootings.
Right.
The one that's most difficult for me to process is the one at Sandy Hook, where they killed all those first graders.
Yeah. How about up in Lancaster, when that guy went in there and killed all them there from Lancaster?
The Amish in the schoolhouse. No, this is a problem that we have to deal with, and I've been trying to be involved. I just want to put in a plug. I'm not sure when this will air, but if it's on time, March 24th, there is a March for Our Lives to march for some sensible regulations that could help reduce the number of these cases. There's one in Washington. I'm going to the one in Washington with my family.
March for what?
It's called March for Our Lives, and it's essentially organized by students to march to demand that legislators do something. And there's a number of things we can do to make them safer in schools.
In other words, the rattling Cajun, did the politicians do something?
Yeah, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people in Washington, but there's also one in Philly, and there's, I think, one in Harrisburg. There are marches all over the country on March 24th. I would also say right now, my son and daughter are at their school, and they are participating in a walkout from the school.
What's that mean?
That means all the students are walking out of classes.
Why?
To protest the lack of movement on safety legislation. And so my son and daughter are both at school now, and they're standing outside in the cold to protest.
All right, now I got a list of things. I spent 25, 30 years with the Norristown Police, Safety Patrol, Safety, District Attorney's Office, okay?
Yep.
I got some ideas. I'm going to run them by you.
Can't wait.
You say yes, no, good, maybe. And then you're a state legislator. State.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Can you get the Attorney General, a top educator, police officer, and have a panel and put things together?
Yeah, I would love that. In fact, we're already talking about doing that.
You have the power to do that?
Yeah, well, we can invite people. We can't force them to come, and if they don't come...
Well, I could twist the arm.
Yeah, I can beat the crap out of them, so I'm happy to try to do that. But
all right.
it is, we're talking about putting together something at my kid's school, which is Shipley, to have a discussion about this.
All right, let's go this. Number one, in case we're going to call him the invader. The invader.
Okay.
Okay. The invader comes to the school. The principal, there should be 2 intercoms in case the invader goes in the principal's office and she can't use the so there should be 2 different locations. What do you think of that?
That sounds fine.
All right, okay.
We're 1 for 1.
Now, arm the custodian. The custodian is the most important guy. He knows where every room is. He should be there waiting for the responders to show where rooms are.
Well,
Okay? What do you
look,
think?
I don't have a problem and would be fine with an armed guard. I'm not sure it'd be.
I mean, to train him,
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the custodian,
we have to change things.
but I think an armed guard's okay. There's some issues with armed guards. Number one, some of the schools that have been the subject of mass shootings had armed guards. You can't be
No,
everywhere.
I said the custodian.
I know, but the thing about the custodian. So let me say
He's
this.
in there all the time.
I know, and this is the same issue with arming
All right,
teachers.
you want to put a question mark here?
Yeah, maybe 2 question marks there.
All right. I think they should, okay?
Okay.
Now, there should be 2 types of alarms.
Okay.
One, fire alarm. Leave the building, okay?
Yep.
They have instructions what to do. Second alarm, ee, ah, ooh, 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 a different sound. Emergency. Then they get the training, close the door, under the desk, whatever training they get. There got to be 2 different alarms.
No,
I know,
I think-
I'm here, and I hear the fire drill. Everybody goes, but when I hear a different alarm, that means there's hell coming up.
Yeah,
You know, there's
I
an
think the
invader
alarm.
in the building.
I think the alarm should be a recording of you doing that. That would be perfect.
I'll raise hell.
No, but I would say this.
I'll go ahead.
I'm for that. The 2 alarm system I think is a really good idea.
Will belong to me. All right. What do you think? Different alarms.
Different
Fire
alarm.
and the one that for the invader. I
Yeah.
don't know what kind of different. They got different sounds.
That's the sound. That's the sound.
Okay. All right. Number 2. You okay with that?
Perfect. That's good.
Okay.
I'm for that.
That's never been done. All
That's
right?
that's a
Now,
good idea.
Different sounds for different alarms. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, close the doors and get under the desk. Whatever procedure.
Yeah, I'll defer to the people who are experts at that.
When they hear that sound, that there are
Yeah.
invaders in the building. Announce the location.
Another idea along
Now,
those
you
lines.
have 2 different intercoms. The guy's in the toilets. He's at the end of the floor. The janitor's right there can tell him because he knows every room. Right?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. One thing might be like they do in prisons, have a central place where you can push a button and lock all the doors in the building.
Yeah.
That might be a good idea.
That could be. But okay, that's all right. You okay with that?
I'm with it. Yeah,
right.
that's fine.
Announce the location of where the invader is. Okay.
If possible.
Well, somebody's got to know where the smoke's coming from, where the sound's coming from, where the shooting from.
Yeah, no, to the extent that we can do that, that's
So
fine.
you got 2 different intercoms. The guy's going to get. He'll think he got everything controlled with the mic. In the meantime, you got the other guy giving instructions. He won't know. You got to outsmart the guy.
Yeah. No,
You like that?
I'm with you
Okay,
so far.
Classroom door closed right there. Announce where the location, where he is. The guy's in the far east. There's a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
Every police department, every fire department should have a map of where the locations of
Yep.
the different rooms. Okay, right? Talk.
Okay. First of all, the problem with arming custodians and teachers and people who are not professionals is that, first of all, my mother was a public school teacher for 30 years. You did not know her, but trust me when I say that the idea of her shooting it out with an invader who has an AR-15 is preposterous. She was not cut out for that. I think most teachers aren't cut out for that. Keep in mind, and you should know this, even military and police, people who've been trained often freeze when they're first confronted with actual combat, let alone an algebra teacher who's been given a 4-hour course. I mean, I just think, also, if you have a gun, the custodian's different, but let's say a teacher, because custodian's not in the classroom, but if a teacher has a gun, the only way the gun would be effective, even if the teacher could use it, would be if it's readily available. If an invader bursts in the room, you can't be running up to a safe and being like 23, 37, you're never going to, it's going to be too late. You got to have it right there ready to use. The problem is if it's right there ready to use for you, it's also right there ready to use for a student who's upset, for a teacher who loses his temper or her temper, for an invader who comes into a school because he can't get past the metal detectors unarmed, but knows there are guns in the desks of the teachers because he was a former student or whatever. It creates a lot of problems. And also when the police come, often they won't be able to tell who the bad guy is and who the good guy is if people have guns. I much prefer to start working on getting into a situation where there are fewer people with these mass killing machines.
Yeah.
It's one thing, everyone's for your right to have a gun, to hunt, to
I don't need
protect
a
the
machine
bugler.
gun. I go
You
hunting,
don't need
but I
it.
use a gun.
If you have a machine gun
right.
for like hunting, there's not going to be much left to eat.
All right, next question.
Okay.
We got the intercom to keep the kids informed, students informed.
Yep.
Keep calm, because next thing you know, kids, one that might get a spell, go crying and screaming.
Right.
And then they have to calm that person down. So
I'm not sure that'll
keep
work.
Everybody down, just like Mayor Giuliani when 9/11, he spoke, he kept people calm,
Okay.
So we need that. So that's why
I'm not against.
too calm,
I'm not against telling people to stay calm.
Let that invader know that we know where he is and we're coming in after him.
Okay. No, I'm not
And
against.
all right, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Wait a minute. I let you talk. Now you let me talk.
absolutely.
Okay?
It's all
and
you.
then I want you to talk.
All right, I'll talk.
I think the firemen, I think the policemen, first responder should be armed. I don't think that I want to be a fireman, and I'm going to the fire, and I'm going there, that I know there's a guy with a gun there. What the heck am I going there with a hose? The guy got a gun.
Yeah, I would assume that's the protocol
Nothing
now.
wrong with nothing. Firemen have good training. They should carry, if they're going there, if they got that alarm comes out that it's an invader in the school, be prepared.
Yeah.
One thing about firemen, when they're on that fire truck, going to the fire, they got their hats on, they're putting their coats on, they're getting ready. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
What do you think of that?
I think the protocol probably is that. I would be surprised if they send unarmed fire people into a school shooting situation as the first people who are in. I think you have to secure the location, and I would assume that those people would be armed. I assume it'd be a SWAT team of some sort.
If you're going there someplace where there's armed, you should have armed.
Yeah, I agree.
You like that?
I like that.
All right, and I think the firemen will love you. All right. Every department and fire department should have a map of the layout of the school, so they know where to go. Is that okay?
And with technology, you can just
should have it.
You can just send it
All
right to
right?
their phones, and they can see it.
Respond person to command have one guy in charge. What? Right. One guy in charge in command.
Or a woman.
Or a woman.
Or a non-binary.
Yeah. Head of the CIA.
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah, really these days.
All right, go ahead.
But no, I agree with that. I do think that, however, one of the things that stops these, not only school but mall, these mass shootings, is when the guy runs out of bullets. So I would limit the number of bullets in a magazine to, let's say, 10, because they have to reload and someone can intervene.
Yeah.
If they have a drum that holds 100 bullets, no one needs 100 bullets to hunt or protect their house from a burglar. That is only a machine designed to kill a lot of people very quickly, and people should not have that.
Anybody that sells guns that shoots more than 4 or 5 bullets at a time should have the name, address, fingerprints of everybody that buys one. In fact, they shouldn't even sell them. But if they do sell them for certain ones that want them, okay. But take everything, fingerprints and everything. How's that?
Yeah, I'd limit it because keep in mind the school shooters often don't care what happens to them. They assume they're going to die or they assume they're going to get arrested. So a fingerprint isn't going to deter them.
I'm just saying at least we have a general idea.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not against taking the
In
fingerprint.
case
I'm
the guy
just
takes
not.
off, they got a fingerprint of somebody.
I just think we need to do more. I mean, I'm not against that, but we need to do more.
You never know. All right. Now, then the student, there should be a command when it's all clear. The students are leaving the building.
Yeah.
Okay?
But you have to make sure
That has to be, yes.
that
And
it's
there should be
verifiable. In other words, it shouldn't come from in the school. The all clear should come from a remote location like the police department that's hooked up into the school. Because you could have a shooter that goes into the principal's office and with a gun and then takes the mic and says all clear.
Right. Well, that's why you have another location.
Right, a remote location.
All right, now they leave the building. All the students clear. Everybody leave the building. Then there should be maybe 4, 5, 6 buses out there where the students go into the bus and wait. They'd be accounted for rather than just going around and have a speaker outside giving them instructions what to do outside.
Well, you raise a great point because accounting for the students is often one of the more difficult things in these school shootings. Some students flee and they run away, and parents don't know where they are, and they don't know if their kid's been hurt or what's going on, and I'm sure that's extremely difficult.
Well, that's why if we have them, we know one location rather than all roaming around. Go to the bus, and they'll be there. Then they'll have a command. You'll know they're safe. And then to calm them down, and maybe then have some water for everybody, water wagons or so. Is that okay?
Yeah. I'm all for water.
You better-
Whenever there can be water wagons, I'm for it in any context.
All right, it should be more. Now, I like in the schools they have the what do they call that? The RCC or RTD, the kids in uniform.
ROTC.
I think you should expand on that. They have training. Train them first aid. In Florida, there was a kid was bleeding like that, and the kid was a Boy Scout. He remember put a tourniquet and saved the guy's life. So there should be more. You want to learn something about first aid. One of your buddies is bleeding.
Well, I don't think it should just be ROTC.
Everybody should have first aid. And then the kids that are military.
One of my big issues in education is that we don't teach kids practical things enough. How to balance a checkbook, how to work a credit card. Also, first aid. Every kid should graduate high school knowing how to do CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, a tourniquet, basic things that could save a life. When I was in school, they didn't do it. We didn't learn anything like that.
Let's do that.
We should do that.
One of your legislator things.
Not yet, but we can absolutely. That might be my next idea.
Contacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you gonna do?
No, I think I think that we just came up with a great idea, Hank. We'll call it the Cisco Leach initiative.
I think it should expand on that. I think kids come to school to get an education. Now, you got to add it. They come here to stay alive.
Yeah.
So we have to give them a training. We have to get education. It's not a funny thing anymore.
And it's not just shootings.
I was in charge of school kids, safety patrol, this and now it's different.
You should be able to help at a car accident or someone choking in a restaurant. You should be able to help. You should be trained to help in any situation where it arises, where the need arises.
Okay. All right, an emergency, you're going to have different sounds for emergencies.
You got quite a list there, Hank. It just keeps going.
All right, there should be some water, food, or something, and put the kids in the bus so everybody's accounted for. A special sound system outside, giving everybody instructions outside. Mm-hmm. So everybody's just going around, who's who. Make sure students some kids are going to get excited about it. They think they're going to die or anything, and that's gone. That's about it. All right.
Well, before I go, Hank, I just want to.
Go ahead. I want you to talk now.
Well, first I want to give you something.
You want to give me something?
Yeah. This is a citation for all of your great work, and this is from the Senate. You'll see we do very nice citations in the Senate, much nicer than the House. Yeah. As a man who has been contributed so much to the community, has been the ambassador of Norristown for so long, and
I don't know about that. You better check with that principal, that President Norristown.
You're always my ambassador, Hank. I just want to give this on behalf of the Pennsylvania Senate for everything you've done for our community for so long.
Oh, yeah, I
and
appreciate
we're really
that.
grateful.
Thank you. Give me the thing. I want to give you something.
Oh, good.
All right, give me that thing. I want to give you something.
All
here.
right. Is it cash? I like cash.
I want to see this on your desk. Okay.
Oh,
Thank
this
you
is
for
awesome.
being on there.
This is a thank you for being on the show. I shall cherish this, and I will display it in a place of great prominence.
All right. It's the last thing. You, a state senator. We need more eyes and hears, smell. That's a policeman. He hears, he smells, right? Now, who can we get? The police can't be everywhere, but who can? I'll tell you who. Deputize the mailman. Let the mailman have a direct telephone to the police. He sees something wrong in that house. He sees an accident. He smells marijuana. He smells a place. He got a direct line. And then and then people have a little something about their neighbor. Give them and he takes.
Well, keep in mind you gotta be correct now. So it's not mailman, it's mail person, or better, not mail person.
I don't care.
Person.
That's
a mailman is now
else.
a person.
All right.
Thank you so much.
It's all over. What do you got? Say something.
No. Anyone who has any questions about this, and I know I do, go to Dleach, DLEACH at PASenate.com. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Does the state have any more walk-around money? We need some equipment.
I got a bunch in my pocket. What do you need?
Can you help us? Anybody help us? We need some equipment here.
When we're off the air, I will talk to you. I'll talk to John, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You are a good state senator.
Thank you. I'm
Don't
grateful.
Don't let nobody pull around with you. Anybody give him a hard time, see me.
That's
okay?
right.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. Really
and
appreciate
here we go. Allah salute.
L'chaim.
That means to your health, baby. Keep
Yeah,
bobbing
there
the
you
wheels.
go.